Mic check 1 2 1 2. Welcome back to the Beyond the Coach podcast. I am your host, Kelsey Nanini.
And I'm Chris Sweet.
And today we're going to talk about why coaches need coaches too. Which I feel like is like often, it's getting thrown around a lot on social media as we're getting more and more people starting to coach coaches.
Yeah.
And we wanted to come at it from a point of our personal experience in having coaches ourselves versus coming at it from a point of like, we coach coaches, shameless plug. Like we want to just share our experience and be able to have a candid conversation about how having our own coaches has truly helped us become even better coaches.
Yeah. I guess starting this out, I hired my first coach, 2017, I think. I mean, to be fair, I played sports my whole life. So I feel like I, from a young age, was like always ingrained in having someone to like push you and almost like just have you do better and, you know, pour into you that way. So when I transitioned into adulthood and was starting my career and all of that stuff, I was like kind of like a no-brainer. Like it was almost this itch that I was like, yeah, I need to hire a trainer. Like I need to hire a coach. I need to hire someone for me. So like my first experience was like 2017, I think.
Yeah, I think mine was 2018, like right after college, when I could not afford it. Like,
same.
I mean, my coach was pretty inexpensive. She was expensive at the time, but she was inexpensive. She was like $300 a month. And it was so helpful for me at the time. And then I kind of took a break and came back to it later on. But like I was doing the math and I became a personal trainer in 2017, got my first coach in 2018. So from 2018 to now, of that amount of time, I've only not had a coach for like a year of that time, which is insane.
I think actually it's like the same for me. I think out of the last since 2017, 2018, timelines are hard when you get older. I just say that. They're tough. But 2017, I don't think I've gone without a coach for longer than even a year, if that, to be honest, because I think every time I like take a break from it, I'm like, dang, I really need that. Like, I really need that back.
Yeah, and like you said, like you pretty much had a coach the whole time. When you didn't, you like craved it back kind of. And it's the same for me. Like it wasn't necessarily like, I don't need it for the accountability. I'm gonna do the thing. Like I don't really need someone to like, I'll do it. But I need someone to just give me what I need to do. Honestly, like at some points, I guess I will say I need accountability. Like right now when we're just like running rampant and pretty like stressed and working a lot, I think it would be much easier for me to just be like, it's okay, I can do it tomorrow kind of thing and push it off. Even though I love training and I love working out, having that person who has the plan for you, it makes it so much easier.
Well, and I think it's been like a temptation for me recently. Like it's been like this temptation of like, sure, I could wake up at 5 a.m. and go to the gym, but I could wake up at 5 a.m. and get ahead on work. Like it's almost like this choice, like this drop-down menu. And if I didn't have a coach, even as a coach myself, there's times where you just naturally prioritize work and you prioritize business and you prioritize other people. And I think by having a coach, it forces me to prioritize myself. But by doing that, I'm prioritizing the business. And I've seen that and I've seen the domino effect that happens. But like, just like how people have temptations with food, like coaches have temptations with saying, I'm going to put my business over, you know, my training. And even with macro tracking, it's like during this busy time right now, it's like, it's easy for me to just say, I'm just not going to track my macros because like, I'm going to be on calls all day and this and this and this. And like, you know, I'll just get back to it when I can dial in fully. Like even coaches make those excuses, the same excuses that we're hearing from leads, like lifestyle clients on the other side saying, I'm just going to wait for the perfect time. And I'm just going to wait for this, this, and this. Like we are fully guilty of that. We all, like all coaches are, in my honest opinion of that. And I've caught myself in that. So I would think like during this crazy time when Kelsey and I are doing this merger and really getting this stuff off the ground, if I didn't have a coach, I would not have the motivation to want to macro track. I wouldn't have the motivation to say, yeah, let me set a specific health goal right now. Like I'm going through a deficit at this very moment while we're about to go into what we keep calling a 90-day sprint for us, like this 90-day sprint of getting things going and launches and all this stuff coming for you guys. It's easy for me to say like, oh, well, if I didn't have a coach, that wouldn't be a focus for me health and fitness wise, and getting into the gym and stuff. But it's like almost like a task that a coach gets to assign for me, and I get to say, okay, that's now a part of my to-do list for the day.
Yeah, and I think too for coaches, it can be just so easy to say, well, I know what to do. I know what to do. And we even hear that from the lifestyle side too. And it's like, but you're not doing it. You're not doing the thing. And for me, seeing coaches that just aren't practicing what they're preaching. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be shredded year round and you have to train 5-6 days a week and you have to also do cardio and run and be, you know, tracking every single thing you put into your mouth. That's not what we're saying, but just having structure and having somebody, another set of eyes on your stuff is huge. And I think I've heard too from the coaches, it's just like, I'm trying to get my business off the ground. I just can't afford it at this point. And like, I always just look at it this way. If I just have one extra client on my roster, that pays for my coaching. Mm-hmm. And like, if you really think of it that way, it's so simple. Like, I just need one additional client and I can have a coach myself. Instead of me taking the time to coach myself right now, I could be coaching someone else and actually making money off of it and outsourcing. But coming kind of from a different point of view, and maybe we can talk about this a little bit too, and we obviously won't name names or anything like that, but I learned how to be a better coach, not just from the really good coaches I've had, but also from the ones that I just didn't mesh with. Mm-hmm. You learn by sitting in the client seat, you learn what you really like as a coach and what you don't like. Like, there could be something in your business that you do right now that you think is perfectly fine from your position as a coach. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, this is just how I do it because I've always done it. But then you could go and be a client somewhere else and that coach does that thing and you're like, oh my God, I fucking hate that. Like, this is not worth the money. This is so unethical, for instance. Or maybe you can just tell that, you know, maybe you as a coach use templated programs and all your clients get a template. They get put into the same periodization sequence, makes it your life easy. It's kind of like the puppy mill of coaching, if you will. But then you sit in the client seat and receive that same coaching and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this to my clients. Like, they can tell. They know. So like, I think you also just learn things you really like in coaching and things you don't, and you can implement those things into your own coaching. Like, as your coach is even learning new skills and strategies, you could then implement those into your own clients and like just create such a better experience for your clients too.
Yeah, I feel like hiring a coach is like the best continuing ed that I've ever had. Like, it's
100%.
Literally, like, it's just investing in a continuing education. And people will say, and I've had clients ask me like, what's your number one advice, like, to building your coaching business? Like, how did you get it to where it is today? And I'm like, it is truly a combination of coaching experiences that I loved and coaching experiences that I did not enjoy. Because there were elements of even over delivery, things that my coach did that I was like, I just don't see myself doing this. Like, not even on a negative standpoint, just like how amazing that person gets to hold space for these people in that way. But I don't align with that personally in my business. And it almost allows me to check a box to say, I got to experience it. And it's almost like I'm getting to beta test stuff for my own clients to make the program better. Like, I get to beta test and say, oh, I tried a program with this thing and that didn't work really well for me. Like, that's probably not something I would want to deliver to my own clients because I'm taking a test of it. And even when I go to implement stuff like into business practices, is like, sometimes I want to test it with myself or with another staff member before I say, yeah, let's like launch that to an entire, roster of clients, and just allowing yourself to test things by being in other businesses. But by doing it, also, you get the accountability. Like, that's the biggest part out of it. And I've had to dip my toes into a couple different coaches to figure out who the right fit is for me. And it's had to be an evolution. I've also gone through phases where, like, my literal soulmate coach that I hired, she ended up deciding to stop coaching. And I had to go into a rediscovery mode of, oh my gosh, I just had my dream coach. Like, now she's deciding to not coach anymore. And I respected that. But it's hard when you're going through that once you found what you love. So it's like this, it's been interesting. Like, I've gotten to navigate like the newer era of coaches because I had worked with her for a really long time. And it's just taught me so much, seeing all the different levels, tiers, energies that go into coaches and all the different packages that honestly people can offer too.
Yeah, I agree too. And something really cool that I've found is I've taken little tidbits from every coaching experience I've had. And I was just talking to Chris about this while we've been together, and we were just talking about like kind of goals and what we want to achieve and like our own personal like fitness kind of thing. And I was like, well, next I like kind of want to hire someone who does Olympic lifting. Like I kind of want to get into that. Like it was funny because Coach Jane is pregnant and she's due in June, and I was like, I really wanted her to be like teach me Olympic lifting, but we'll have to hold off on that. But I think for me as a coach, like I like to immerse myself in all different types of coaching experiences, and have actually different focuses, like not putting myself in one box because, and it's not to say that's a bad thing by any means. Like if you are a powerlifting coach and you want to coach powerlifters, then have a powerlifting coach yourself and like get really good at that. If you want to coach CrossFitters that compete at the CrossFit Games, like get really good at CrossFit yourself. For me, we coach coaches, and I also coach higher level athletes, and I want to be able to put myself into the experiences of all these different things. I've coached people that run half marathons, and I'm like, well, shit, I run, but I've never experienced one myself. And so, I mean, it's also a personal goal of mine to do one, but it's kind of like investigative for myself. It's like, how does this feel? How can I like put myself into the position of my clients and what they're going through? And it's like physical therapists, like they've been through injury, which is most likely why they're physical therapists now. And like, I can connect very well with my clients who have had injury. So it's just all about like becoming a better coach is also being able to resonate with your clients. And by having a coach yourself, you can then resonate with your clients so much more and understand like the more emotional side that comes with coaching, and even like the clients that unpack on you. If you do that to your coach, it's like, well, now you know how like your clients feel, and you can kind of just have it both ways. Like if that irritates you as a coach, then you kind of learn that too. So I don't know, you just learn so many tidbits more than just the science of coaching too.
You also, I think it's cool when you get on a sales call with another coach, because it is like business research in a way. It's like you get to see their sales process, right? And you get to see, oh, I really liked this for this, right? Or how they pitched that, or how they said that, or you get to see another coach's onboarding process. Like it is something that you can use from a business perspective of, let me see what somebody else's system and process looks like to deliver that. Not saying go copy and paste someone's exact thing and materials and all of that, but like you can go in and it is research for yourself. That's how the greatest of coaches, the greatest of athletes become who they are today, because they've taken that time to invest, to learn, to put themselves through different programs to figure out like how that fits for them. And then, yeah, if you want to get into something like powerlifting, you know, hiring a coach who does powerlifting so that you can then, maybe if you want to, get to see the experience of becoming a powerlifting coach yourself. Or you can also say, dang, I never want to coach powerlifting. Like it could be something where you just learn what you do and don't want to coach in the process. Again, it's been a continuing education for both business, but then also for fitness. And truly during this period of time, like if y'all could see Kelsey and I's calendars right now, it's like, it's quite horrifying. Like, it's kind of scary. I would be lost without a coach. And it's really cool too when you're going through those periods of changes in business and you get to also talk to a coach about it. Like, I hired a coach because I simply was like, I'm an athlete. I want someone back in my life. I just want some structure again. And it snowballed literally into something that was so much greater than what I expected it to be. Like sometimes you hire a coach for the first time and it might not be for the selfish reasons of, I want to do my research, right? But it does teach you so much in the long run. Like I have never, even with the coaches that I maybe haven't had the best experience with, I've never regretted it, because it's always been something I can apply to my business, to my life, to my clients, to my communication styles, to my sales process. Like, there's something I can pick up from every single coach that I have worked with, even if it wasn't the experience that I had fully hoped for or gotten the result that I wanted out of it.
Yeah. I think it's too, like, I think of it like this, like, a coach that has a coach, you wouldn't hire a dentist that has bad teeth. So why would you hire a coach that's not taking care of themselves? You wouldn't pay $1 million for a painting from someone that just painted their first painting. Maybe that's a bad example, but like, if I haven't been in the client seat before, how can I expect to actually serve my clients? Because I don't even know how it feels to be in the client seat. And so I think it's just that practical application and getting a better understanding. I mean, like, you even think of it from not even a professional athlete standpoint, but like the best coaches, best NFL head coaches were assistant coaches at one point. It's very similar to that. Like, they had to work under someone or with someone to better understand those coaching styles and what you like and don't like about it. So it's really more so like practical application of things. And at the same time, it's a win-win. You get to take care of your own health amidst your crazy schedule of looking at a calendar and being like, I'm literally full all day, but I'm gonna carve out time for my workout because someone took the time, carved time out of their day to program for me, and now I can directly like take care of myself. Because when you're taking care of yourself, you're walking the walk. You can talk the talk, and your clients know it too. Like, when you're actually setting the example, people want to work with you. So
yeah, and a lot of the, like, going back to education, a lot of like the cues I use with clients, a lot of the like working through the emotions, the mindset, all of my responses are typically learned from some other coach, from learning another coach's verbiage. You might be like, oh, I really like how they tackled that, or I really liked how they said that to me. Like, I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna put that in you know, my little toolkit as a coach myself. And that comes from investing in yourself. And the other point I wanted to make too is, like, when I first started really getting in, like ramping up my online coaching, there was a part of me that was like, do I talk about the fact that I have a coach? Like, is that a sign of like weakness? Is that a sign that I don't know what I'm talking about? Because you guys have probably seen it when you get on a sales call with someone and they're like, but I know what to do. Like, they're like telling you their pain points, but then they're almost like trying to validate like themselves or back themselves up. They're like, but I know what to do. And you're like, it's okay to admit that you're struggling. Like, it's okay to admit, like, it's not that you don't know what to do. Sometimes it's literally just the fact that like you need the extra push and the extra accountability. Like, going back to athletes, all these professional athletes have coaches because it's what gets them to that higher level. They leave their ego at the door and they say, yeah, like, my coach, I respect my coach. I'm going to listen to my coach. Like, I'm there to learn from them. And they become who they are today because of it. And I think that was something I had to get over. And I just want to give you guys the permission that there is literally no shame, no guilt, no nothing to be had when you hire a coach. Like, it is something you should be proud of. It's something that you should be excited about. Like, the same way, again, you invest in a continuing ed for your clients, in a way you're investing in a coach for yourself. Like, I just recently hired a new coach for myself over the last month. And I knew it was who I wanted to work with. And I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud to say that I'm working with a coach because of this busy season, especially that we're in. And most importantly, because I have specific goals and I don't want to get lost in the growth of a business and put myself on the back burner, because that has happened as well. So it's not something that you should be ashamed to say that you have, because it does not, it's not almost like verifying that you don't know something or don't know how to program or don't know how to do macros. It's verifying that you do, but you see the value in investing in yourself more than anything. And that's what I tell myself time and time again. If I tag my coach, there's no shame in me tagging my coach or saying that I have a coach or showing my check-in. If anything, again, it's cool for your clients to see, like, wow, my coach literally like walks the walk, talks the talk, and she has like tips and advice of how to like fill out her check-in and how to get her steps in and how to take her progress photos and how to make sure she's not like missing the mark on the things that your clients are going to firsthand really, really struggle with. So I think that was something I had to work through the first couple years, especially when I was ramping up the coaching of just saying, I'm not weak because I have a coach. I'm just not.
And I think going off that point is, I've seen it firsthand from from coaches that I've coached, or even just that have asked me questions, is we know so deeply what to do, right? You coach your clients through it. But as coaches, sometimes we hold ourselves to like, oh, I'm better than that, so I can do this. For example, coaches that cut multiple times a year. I disagree with that from a coaching standpoint. I think you should coach cut one time or less per year. I don't think you should be in multiple cuts a year, but there are coaches who are like, I'm a coach, I can do it, it's okay. And it's like, maybe if it's like a mini cut here and there, if you need to prep for a vacation or whatever it may be. But I'm seeing coaches put themselves through 16-week cuts twice a year. That's like over half the year you're in a deficit, and you're preaching to other, your clients, like, we shouldn't be cutting all the time. And so for me, in coaching coaches, I just find that there's a lot of coaches who can almost validate their own BS, and they're just like, oh, it's fine, I'm a coach, I can do this, where it's like, no, you like get another set of eyes to see what's going on from a different perspective. I've had a ton of coaches come in and wanting to cut, and I know I didn't want to talk about us coaching, but it's just something I've seen, is like they want to just go into a cut, and I'm like, no, you don't need one. You were just in one and it didn't work. Like you were just in one last summer and it didn't work. So why don't we try gaining muscle for a long time? Like your goal is that you want to get stronger in the gym, you want to deadlift heavier, and you want to gain muscle, yet you're going into another deficit. And they're like, well, I just don't want to feel X, Y, and Z. And it's like, that's the ops. So it's just like, sometimes you just have to like get another person to not validate you doing the things you say, like the opposite of what you want to do, if that would make sense.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's also one of those things as coaches, especially in the online space, is this world of social media where it's like it's almost like this, people think that, in order to be a coach, you need to be the leanest, the strongest, you have to look a certain way and act a certain way and all this stuff. And I'm like, I think actually the best qualifier as a coach is when you can take the literal advice you're giving your clients or can do the hard shit. Like when you can do the protocol that you don't want to do, but your body needs to do it. Like you need to go through a reverse diet, or you need to go through a maintenance period, or you need to go through a building period, or maybe you need to go into a deficit and it's just really hard for you to commit to that and to stick to it. And then you feel like less of a coach because you can't stick to your own deficits, yet you're trying to preach to other people to do it. Like, for me, I've gone through the last 2 years of like chronic back pain, and I had a coach literally tell me like, hey, we can't go into a deficit. We're not going to do that right now because you're going through an active rehab process right now and you're going to compromise yourself emotionally. I wanted to go into a deficit because I wanted to lean out, because I felt like on the outside, especially when you're going through a pain journey, you can't even work out, you can't do what you want to do, you can't lift how you want to lift. Like the only thing you think you sometimes have control over is like your food. And you think, oh, I can go into a deficit and I can at least look the way I want to look. And I had to really go through a lot of patience of saying, right now is not the time to go into a deficit. Right now is not the time. Would I do that with a client? Absolutely. Like I would tell a client, no, we're not going into a deficit. Like I know the exact advice I need to give someone, but emotionally as coaches, like we are still human. Like we still have desires and temptations and these things going on. And now lo and behold, like I have this new coach and my back pain's been much better and we're entering a deficit. But again, it took me a year plus of waiting to go into this deficit, waiting for the permission slip, and for me coming to a coach to take me through it, because we are our own worst enemies. We will compromise our own progress. We will compromise our own well-being before anybody else, because just as coaches, we pour into everybody else before ourselves. So I think it's really important to take that time to just hire somebody, practice that patience, be told to be at maintenance, see the value of working with a coach through maintenance. That's another thing too. If you don't know, like, how to convince a client to work with you through a maintenance phase, you've likely never worked with a coach through maintenance phase. Like I've had to learn so many of those coaching tactics to be able to sit here today and tell you my experience, because it hasn't been this linear progression. It hasn't been this perfect journey. I've had to go through my own resistances. I've had to have coaches give me tough love, but it makes me a better coach because of it at the end of the day. And it's something I've never truly regretted. And it's something that I've had to challenge myself on. So if you're a coach and you feel like your value is literally being weighed by like how you look, right? Or your reputation or your credibility is based on your exterior, but internally your body needs something else, like do that not only for you, but do it for the clients that you're literally preaching that to. Like do it for them as well, to go through that journey with them, because you will emotionally get to connect. You'll have more patience with them. You'll be able, like so many times as coaches, we're like, why don't they just get it? Like, why don't they just, whatever. It's like, when you've gone through the scenarios where you've had to have those hard conversations, you do become better because of it.
Yeah. Just it's not even just for your own health. It's not even just for your own physique, your own performance. Obviously, those are huge. I think that's the first and foremost part, even aside from getting the experience for you to be a coach. Like, I think it's so important for you to experience a deficit with a coach, a reverse with a coach, a bulk with a coach, and then maintenance. If you are a coach who's coaching on that, right? If you are a coach who's coaching clients and periodizing nutrition and the experience of going into a cut, reverse, maintenance, bulk, and that continual cycle, experience it for yourself. But not only that, have someone that's in your corner and can hold you accountable and call you out on your shit. And also, like, you just learn so much more of, like, how to handle challenging clients. Having a coach that you can even ask questions to and get some feedback on your client cases, I think is super helpful. So really, like, to wrap up, I think it's just like, if you haven't ever had a coach and you are a coach yourself, or you haven't had one in a while, if you're afraid to commit again because you had a poor experience, or you don't feel like you have a specific goal that you're trying to achieve, just like fuck around and find out. Like, truly, who cares if you just try and like just get the experience? I had a client who just started, and she started sharing with her clients that she has a coach, and they're like, that's so cool. Like, it feels so good to have a coach who also has a coach. Mm-hmm. Like, don't be afraid of what your clients are going to think, because if anything, they will love so much that you are also investing in yourself, because it makes them feel validated too. Like, oh, it's not bad that I have a coach. Like, I'm not weak for having a coach, or I'm not dumb for having a coach. It's actually like the smartest thing you could do.
Yeah, I find that your clients just end up being your cheerleaders through the process, honestly. Yeah. Like, my clients will send me messages on Instagram and be like, you go, girl. Like, you're rocking it. You're killing it. Like, you're doing that. And they want to see that. They want to see that example. So don't be fearful of it. Don't deny, even like this little intuition in you that has that itch to do it. Like, just try it. Because truly, I sometimes have to tell myself, like, what's the worst that happens? Like, literally,
you learn something.
What is the worst that comes out of it? Truly. Yeah. Like, coming from us who have invested in multiple coaches, we've been there. There's no shame in it. I will continue to invest in coaches. I will continue to have someone to hold me accountable. And we just hope that you guys can make that decision as well, just to try it out, check it out, find someone you trust. Again, do your research on things as well. And just to shameless plug us for a second, like, we do have our cohort that will be going live. So you can check that out on our Instagram and website. I'll link it in the bio for you guys if you want to do your research. Like, that is up to you. And if you feel like you can trust us in that, we definitely love that. And we feel very honestly honored to coach any coach going through that process, because we've been there ourselves. So
yeah, whether it's us or someone else, like, just do your due diligence. Like, check. I have like multiple coaches. I'm like, I fucking love to be coached by them. Mm-hmm. So whether it's by us, obviously we would love that. But find your people, do your research, and just get out of your comfort zone. Invest in yourself. I promise you won't regret it, even if it's whether it's a good or a bad experience. So
absolutely. All right, guys. Well, this has been fun. So we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye. Bye.